What's up, everybody? It's your girl Sequoia Blue back in here again. This is the podcast where we talk about anything and everything that motivates the soul spirit. And today we have a special guest, Beate Chelette. She is the Growth Architect. She's about that life. So, can you go on ahead and start with that journey of like how did you get started into your consulting business?
Yeah, so I come original from Germany. I immigrated a very, 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 very long time ago. And I have picked Los Angeles as my chosen place, and I've been here ever since. I started out as a photographer and then stayed in the creative arts for a large number of years in my career, built up a stock photography syndication after I was a photographer, a photo editor, a photo representative, a still photography producer, and eventually a stock photography syndication that I exited in a multi-million dollar deal when I sold the business to Bill Gates. And then
Mm.
afterward, I wanted to take all the shortcuts and the things that I've learned on what not to do and what to do and really share it with especially creative people and visionaries, people that are maybe a little bit less conforming or don't fit the mold, and help them land planes.
That makes sense because it's all about the branding and how to be authentic to you, how to become authority in your lane. And that's what you teach, right? With the growth architect, right?
Yeah, so we have a number of different pieces. When you look at business building and or personal brand building, there is a particular cadence to things. So people always say, well, just be you and because everybody else is taken. But what does that mean? I mean,
Mm.
how do you how do you suddenly stand in the middle of the room and say, this is who I am unapologetically, when the school tells you to be a particular way, and if you behave a certain way, you get an A. If you don't, you get an F. If you stay within inside the box, you get an A. If you don't, you get an F. If you speak up, you get, disruptive. If you speak only when called, you get an A. So we are raised in this particular way of conforming to a particular status quo. And then you go out in the
Mhm.
real world, Sequoia, and somebody says, well, tell me everything about you. Tell me what makes you different. You go like, dude, nobody asked me that ever before. And I don't
Mhm.
think there's an easy answer to that. And if I knew, I would tell you, but I cannot tell
Mhm.
you.
That's true. And that's when you get to the point where you figure out which social media is for you. How are you going to present yourself to be comfortable in a way to be able to get the audience that you're looking for, right? It's probably like lands into that.
Yes, yes, yes. So there's a couple of things. We look at ourselves as what we perceive, what we've been told. And then we have wishes and desires and aspirations. But it's not exactly like anybody ever says, well, if you could be anything, what would you want to be? Or they say it, but then they expect you, cute little you for Halloween, be a firefighter, a doctor, a lawyer type of thing. But if somebody says, well, I want to be an internet marketer or run or run and run a social media consulting firm, well, that's already when it gets a little bit tricky. As soon as it's outside of this particular way, we are being already challenged or not so much encouraged to go anything other than what people's understanding and perception of success really is. And so
Mm.
the piece that I help people with is to figure out, what is it that you're really good at? Why are you
Mhm.
the right person for this? What is unique about you? What's your super skill? How do we tell that to other people without you sounding like you're bragging? And how do we
Mhm.
make a business around it? And that's what I help people with.
Wow. And is it like, do you do like blueprints and click funnels and to get people to feel like, I guess you're talking to them, drawing them in,
We're
because,
not a digital marketing agency. We
okay.
really business consultants. So we make the plan. We are not the ones. I mean, if I would have to do funnels, that would be the worst. Um, I just don't like that part that much. But
Yeah.
what I do like is the piece where we really go into the personal branding and the marketing and the actual strategy for what is this plan? who are you, and
Mhm.
then mapping all of these pieces out, and then we pull in. So I'm the one who designs the overall strategy and helps them with the overall systems, and from there on, I'll help them with finding people that then can execute these particular small pieces.
Wow, that's amazing. That's actually good because a lot of people do need that direction. Like, okay, how do I put this together? I got this idea, but what do I do? And for ladies that are single mothers, like your story is pretty interesting because you was a single mom out here trying to do a business. And I meet a lot of people that are trying to be entrepreneurs, and they're like, "Man, I got a kid. If I just wait till my kid grow up or do this and that." Like, what's your advice to someone with children that want to become a business owner?
Uh, there really is no reason why you cannot do it. I mean, you're just gonna have to be prepared. If you're married in a relationship, it's probably gonna be a little bit easier if you're the versus you being a single mom. And if you're a single mother, you have to recognize that there is a compromise you're gonna have to make because your child's gonna be the most important thing. And then you are going to have to figure out how to make a living. And so all these personal things, the going out, the having fun, the relationship, unfortunately often takes a second place or third place just because you don't have the time. If you have to be
Mm,
somewhere at 5 o'clock to pick up your kid, you have to be somewhere at 5 o'clock and pick up your kid. And then you cannot go out at 9 o'clock at night and party
yeah.
until 2 o'clock in the morning if you have to be
Mm-mm,
back out at 7 or 6:30, and you certainly can't have a hangover. I mean, you mean
mm-mm,
business, you're gonna have to start to get very disciplined, very focused, and very, very clear about where you're gonna go. But people always think that they don't want to compromise. They don't want
mm,
to make
yeah.
something an action over another action. And that's what bites them in the butt because then
Yep.
they do everything half-hearted, and then
Mhm,
then they are upset that they have to make sacrifices, and then they fall
mhm.
back and they'll never pursue their dreams. So my advice is
Yeah.
you can, but you just got to be very clear that there is a consequence and that you'll have to take the decisive actions, and you cannot sit there and feel sorry for yourself because it's a decision that you made for the greater good, and you have to believe that and follow that path.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that if you really want something, you're just gonna find a way to do it. Organization, even to my ADHD people, just finding a way to
Truly.
do it. Because if you really want it, you're gonna fight through that ADHD.
Well, I mean, ADHD, a friend of mine, Jeff Hayes, wrote a book called The Entrepreneurial Brain.
Mm,
And he literally just published this book very recently. And he says in the book that the research shows that the entrepreneurial brain is very comparable to someone with ADHD or somebody who's
mm,
bipolar or a criminal. And why is that? Because those are people that don't accept status quo or rules that normal people will accept and follow. That
mm.
is the good making of an entrepreneur. So instead of feeling bad about your ADHD, you're just going to have to learn how to channel that into this entrepreneurial energy because you're going to get a hell of a lot more done than other people if you learn how to control it.
Ooh, I like that you said that because, me being an ADHD person, I have my hands in different things. And it's not that I tried, it just happened, and then I'm interested. And I'm also a curious person on top of that. So it's like that curiosity can help people grow as well as the ADHD. I think that's important. And I think people shouldn't feel so bad about it because it's such a big topic on it.
Yeah,
So,
I,
what
I
do
I mean,
you?
I think there's a good chance that I have ADHD, but it wouldn't even occur to me to get tested because I know that my brain is always going and that I'm very easily distracted. But I have learned to do focus time, and I have learned to take these things of when I'm in 10,000 different things to channel that into what's most important and then get really obsessive about something. That's really a good quality. So the judgment, I think, is the issue, to be honest with you, Sequoia. I mean, if somebody says, what does it mean? It really means nothing. Like, what do you
That's true.
mean? What does it mean? It means nothing. It just means that that's the way you are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think some people are just wired differently and that's why I tell people two things can be true at the same time. If you have a regular job and you're trying to build your business on the side, it doesn't mean that your business is not important, because you have a job. I think that's just your investor. Your job is just holding you down until you get it to where you want to go. And I just tired of these rules, telling people, yeah, if you're at work, you just at work. If it's okay to build, you know, that business and have your job. And then I want to talk about, like, during this time we have inflation, we have, they said a recession's coming or whatever. Like, what do you, what advice do you give to somebody that's like starting a business right now and feel like, oh, what it is the right time? What should I do? You know?
I have a very simple counter question to that. If all your competitors are stopping to advertise and promote themselves, what do you think you should do?
Mm, you should do it. The best time.
It's the best time.
It's the best time,
So
because
if everybody else is complaining about how bad it is and nobody does anything, you need to make twice as many calls. Because they're not making the calls, because they're having an excuse. They laid off their salesperson preemptively, or they are scaling down, or they're preserving their cash, or they do whatever. They're not out there pursuing business. You need to be, because business is, I mean, last time I went into the Apple store, it was packed. You'd think they give that stuff away. Somebody's buying this stuff. Somebody's making money.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I tell people. Like, and that's the thing, you're out of the box thinker, because a lot of people, they follow other people, they follow the trends when it comes to real estate and stuff like that. It's like, just try, just do it, and learn the game, like, because I'm sure at your program, you're teaching people like what they need to do from step 1 to Z to be able to get to where they want to be so they can have that confidence. And that's important. So what strategies do you recommend, and which ones are the best for
Yeah.
business?
So the first thing that we need to talk about is what is a strategy. And I think that's a lot of times misunderstood. And in the simplest way to understand it is like, we know one thing, and that is where you are here today, right? We know where you are. That's undisputed. You are in your chair, in your home or office. We are on a podcast together right now. That's where you are. That's the starting point. We talk about then next, where do you want to go? So now you would say, well, I want a podcast that's whatever, a top ranked podcast with X amount of downloads. Now, with those two pieces that we have, we can reverse engineer the strategy on how to get there, because there's numbers and data and things that we can figure out. So if you have to do X amount of promotion to get X amount of more listeners, then you know how much promotion you need to do to get to that part. Or if that doesn't work, then what other things would you need to do to drive up your listener score? And that's what strategy really is. The strategy is the actual plan, an implementable plan. Now, for a business, generally speaking, you want to have one overall strategy, right? That's the growth strategy. That's the strategy and how we're going to get there. And within that strategy are other smaller strategies, or other, sometimes people call them tactics. I don't really care what you call them, but you're going to have some sort of a lead attraction, conversion, sales strategy or tactic, whatever that might be in place, because each one of these pieces, you need to drive your business forward. So that is what makes it important to have one overall strategy. And then within that, we build the systems and the other pieces that are required to achieve that goal.
I like that. Strategy is so important. Like, what, who, and why, what we're going to do, because a lot of times people are just, that's why business fails. Not because it's whimsical. It's just because things happen. Nobody's coming up with a plan, And, oh, this is a good question. How much does mindset play into being successful?
Mindset's really everything. Mindset is about your ability to overcome your own limitations and your own confirmation bias. And you probably know a lot about bias and what you are up against. And I know what a woman is up against. I know what a woman over 50 is up against and what the bias is. So you need to always check on whether or not you are consciously or subconsciously falling into the trap of believing what other people are talking about, that a woman over 50, kind of has lost her value, or
Mhm.
that you have to be young and cute, or you have to be white, or you have to be
Mhm.
Asian to be smart, or look into all these types of crazy things. Mindset is for you to look at this and say, that's BS. I'm just
Mhm.
completely calling BS. I know people that are older, like Barbara Corcoran, right? She's killing it right now.
Mhm.
And she somehow managed to get into Shark Tank, and then look at her now. And
Yeah.
you know, I know other women that have done amazing things. We look at Oprah. Don't tell me a woman of color cannot get to a particular place. So these
Mhm.
models already exist right now, but a lot of times people just fall into that trap where they allow a bad mindset to creep in and then use it as an excuse to not achieve. So the mindset is
Mhm.
your ability to be fully in charge of the path that you want to go.
Oh man, I love that. I love that. Because we can all tell ourselves a story and the story isn't even real. But and feelings are fleeting. Like one of my mentors to say out your feelings. I think sometimes, you can say, hey, this happened, but I'm not gonna let this define me. And it took me a long time to get there, but that definitely it starts with the mindset before money, before anything when it comes to business, relationships, anything. Because if you don't start with that, you don't have that together, it ain't gonna work. If you have one message that you wanted everybody to know, what would that be?
Fail faster.
Mm, I agree on that one. Because
If
if you don't go out there and do it and try it, then you ain't gonna know what to do. Because so many people had so many businesses, and then they finally get there. I think it was the guy that created Netflix. Nobody believed in him at first. He failed. Took him 10 years or something to get Netflix where it needs to be. So
Oh, look at, I mean,
like,
Jeff Bezos. We used to laugh about him. And he was bleeding and bleeding, 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 bleeding cash, and he needed more and more and more money. Look how successful he is today.
Yep. Because his story was one of the most inspiring stories, and he's taking over everything.
He's taken over the world.
Yes, it's amazing. So, what books would you recommend to like my audience that they can get inspired or just learn about, business?
So the book that I like is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and The Compound Effect says that if you do small actions every single day, they amount to larger pieces. The
Hmm.
second book I like is The Challenger Sale by two authors, which helps you really to get your head around sales strategies. I think you need to read Think and Grow Rich,
Mm, that's important.
because
That's a good book.
that is the Bible for mindset, and that's where I would start these three books. That'll help you to get an understanding of sales, an understanding of action taking, and an understanding of mindset.
I love it. And do you think that it takes some people to have like a stoic mindset to get to be an entrepreneur like this, like staying out your feelings type vibe where you're just going into that discipline mode? Because it's a big topic now about stoicism, and I started researching it, and I started working on it myself. I'm kind of ebb and flow with it, but it does work when I do it. Do you agree with the whole stoicism phenomenon?
I really haven't heard about that, but I know what the
Mm.
word stoic means, and the word stoic in the way I know it, and correct me if this is not correct or not. We used to call inflexible people stoic, people that go
Mm.
on a particular way to do things, and they stoically just continue to do something. Is that what this is?
Well, yeah, and I think, and now they change stuff around times. Everything's made up, but like also the part where like when you I guess get stuck on that mindset, you're not like letting other stuff get to you as far as like, oh, this person didn't treat me right, or this person ignored me, because just focus on the end result. It's almost like that. Okay,
Oh,
this
okay. So I
person
see. Okay,
was,
so they're
yeah,
taking it out of that context, and
yeah,
they're giving it a makeover to make it not sound so bad.
yeah. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, if this is another word for focus, by all
Yeah,
means,
that's what it is.
if that word interests you, I am not sure I find the word stoic in itself so appealing, but that's my
Yeah.
personal opinion. I would say that you do have to have a certain flexibility. You have to have a thick skin, is what we used to call it. That if
Hmm.
somebody comes at you where you shrug it off and you don't let things get to you. I mean, there are larger things at play here for you, and that is your success. So if you want to be easily derailed, you can do that, but I don't think that that's appropriate.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, whatever way you want to use it, stoic or focus, it's like just being able to say, okay, I'm not gonna let this get to me, so you don't have to ruin your mood because being at a calm disposition to me helps you focus on business and strategizing. And how does the 5-star success blueprint help someone grow and scale their business?
So the 5-star success blueprint I designed to help people that want to build a business to be able to follow this particular path. So the 5-star success blueprint has 5 stars in it, or 5 steps in it. And the first one is for you to look at the actual idea. What is it that you're doing? Why are you doing it? What makes this necessary right now? Who is your client and what problems do they having? Once you have that, you go down to the next star, and that's the offer. Then and only then are you designing the offer that solves the problem for that person that you just identified. Then and only then do you go to the third star, that's the system. We only build system once we know what it is that we're doing and who we are serving. Then the fourth one is then and only then will you hire people that operate the system, because then you know who you need, because then we know what the offer is that solves the problem for our client. And then and only then are we going to look into you as a leader, because then we determine who do you need to be to lead a team that manages the system, that handles the offer, that solves the problem for the clients.
Okay, that's very action oriented. I like that. That's a good strategy. And before we go, I always ask people, what's a saying or quote that you go by?
There are a million ways to be successful, and you only need to find one, your own.
Ooh, I love it. That's right. You got to find your own tea because, there's so many people on YouTube watching these seemingly overnight success people. And I was one of them. I used to jump on the bandwagon and be like, okay, I'm going to do what he just did or she just did. And then it just didn't work out that way. I didn't know marketing. I didn't have the right mindset. It was just so many different factors. And some of them is just, I don't want to say luck because I don't really believe in luck, but it just right time, right place for them or whatever. Or maybe they knew how to speak to people well to get people to listen to them without paying for ads. But some people, you have to pay for ads. There's certain things you have to do. You have to have strategy. You have to have blueprint. And boy, oh boy, now the entrepreneur having that, strategy has changed my life. And I think it can change everybody's life. So that's why it's really important to work with mentors. If you don't know, like you're like somebody that somebody can sign up with and say, okay, teach me this. That's important.
Yeah, you do need
Yeah.
in order to be successful. It's not that you cannot figure this out on your own. There's plenty of information out there. You can
Yeah.
completely figure this out on your own. The question is why. Like if you were wanting to learn how to read, is it easier for you to have somebody teach you how to read? Is it easier
Mm-hmm.
for you to learn another language using like a Duolingo or something? Or is it easier for you
Yeah.
to just get a dictionary, a Spanish dictionary, and start studying the Spanish dictionary? What's easier for you? The information on how to speak Spanish is already out there. All the words are out there. You just need to find them. Or you're going to hire somebody to teach you. So that's a decision everybody has to make for themselves. It's time or money. And time is money. It's money.
Ooh.
It's money you could be making. It's time you could be using to make sales.
I totally agree. Like, I mean, I'm not at a level where I'm not at a level where I can hire a team yet, but it's important if anybody can do freelance or get some freelance workers or somebody to help you, because solopreneur is cool. But if you can just get some people in between to help you out, if it has to be a freelance person, so be it.
100%. Yes.
Yes. So what courses or anything do you have out where you can tell my guests that want to support you and follow you? I'm going to add your website to my show notes.
Yeah, so we are doing a challenge regularly called Passion to Profits. You find it at Passion to Profits online. And I developed something called a profit formula, where I show people exactly the steps, how to calculate what your experience is worth in money, how much money you can make with what you
Mm.
know in this market. And we have a program that we just launched called Turn Your Talent into a Business. That is a
Mm.
program that runs over 12 weeks and helps people to really take the idea, flush out the idea, and then take the idea all the way to the implementation and start that business. So in 12 weeks, which is 3 months, you could be having a business.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, that's y'all hear it now. So you have to go and join. You know, if you need help, this is the time. Don't wait. Start your business. Do it now. Now is the right time, and believe in yourself, and don't let any biases or anything hold you back. So
yeah, and just go to uncoverySession.com and mention this show, and we'll treat you to a 15-minute complimentary uncovery session with our business growth advisor, and then they'll be able to tell you exactly what it is that you need, and we'll help you to figure out what your very best next step is. Happy to help.
yay. See, look, there's always help out there if you look for it. You know, the universe always provides, I would say. Because like Think and Go Rich says, you know, your mindset is everything. Like what you're thinking about is what happens. And it really do. Like, you know, if you think negative is gonna keep happening, you think positive is gonna happen, you're still gonna have some road bumps, but you're gonna see more positives gonna outweigh it, because the ebb and flow is gonna be more of a flow. So
100%.
but yeah. But yeah, I want to thank you for coming on here and blessing my show with your expertise. I'm so excited, and I will be following. And everybody, check her out if you need that support, and stay positive out there. And thanks for listening. Subscribe and support, and be blessed and be safe out there, y'all. Peace.